We are actually live. Okay.
All right.
Well, if you caught us making faces, that's just us being, goofy. Hello and
Well,
welcome. Hi, John. How are you?
hello. Good. How are you? I was going to
I'm pretty
say,
good.
if Facebook, I mean, if YouTube picks weird pictures for the for the thumbnail, we might as well participate, right?
Right? I mean, that I don't even know where they get those pictures from, to be honest. When I look at the stills on those things, Facebook is particularly good at it.
Right. I bet they have an algorithm just for that.
I mean, they catch you like,
Right. It's the mouth
right?
wide open thing.
Yeah. I mean,
Always. I
it
don't.
is what it
All
is.
right.
Anyway, so today we were going to talk about runes, and then I had a little situation happen that made me want to talk about significators instead, because it was just so cool
Yeah.
that I wanted to just tell the story and say, significators were one of those things where when I learned about them, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Me too.
Whatever. Well, whatever.
And
All
then
right.
dot
And
dot dot.
then, so before we move on, I would like to address Melanie is visiting colleges with one of her kids. So we're not sure that obviously she's not here at the moment. That's why we did not actually give her the boot like we were considering before we went on. No, just that we're just kidding about. We're just kidding about that.
That's funny.
Well, if she listens, I guess I'm in trouble, but she knows me, so it's all good. Anyway, so I'm just going to go ahead and start with my story about significant. Actually, John, give us a nutshell, like 1 minute, minute and a half. What is a significator?
Yeah, good question. So the significator is, I mean, it's usually in the contents of a tarot deck, but it could be an oracle deck too. But it's a card in the deck that represents you yourself, or perhaps someone you are reading for. So quite often when you're doing a reading, you're like, okay, this is past, present, and future, or maybe this is like what's working for you, what's working against you, and most likely outcome. Typical 3-card reading. With readings with more cards, sometimes the first card that is pulled, and it's you actually go look for it. You pull the significator for your client, or maybe if you're reading for yourself, you'll pull your own significator, meaning this card represents me in this scenario. So you can kind of see how all the other aspects of the reading relate to you or to the person you're reading for.
Which again is rather an etheric explanation of what a significator card is, right? Like, I mean, it's a common explanation, it's the correct explanation, but it's still one of those things where I was like, yeah, okay, but why do I need that? Or
Right?
what,
Who cares? Yeah.
Who cares? What does that make sense? So some people who listen may remember when we did hi Coventina. May remember when we did tarot time and we were going through and we got to the Queen of Swords and I was like, oh, that's me.
Yeah. Yep. So I remember that very well. That was fun.
But it was an opportunity where I actually saw, oh, yes, there is a card in this deck that represents me and who I am. Now, with that said, I don't know that I've ever read in a guidebook or something of that nature, that any kind of an explanation of the Queen of Swords that actually made me feel like it represented me necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
But since you pointed it out, every person I've ever spoken to where I've said, well, yes, the Queen of Swords is my significator, they're like, yeah. Okay, I can see that. So
should I read the description from Lightseer's Guide so people can kind of know?
Sure.
Let's do it. So the Queen of Swords, thought leader, unbiased decision-making, an excellent communicator, a wise and logical counsel, integrity and honesty, being perceptive, being direct, seeking truth. And then the shadow side, I'll read just a couple of these. Sharp, sometimes harsh communication. Sometimes
that actually is a good explanation, to be honest.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like, tell it like it is, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything.
Right. And I mentioned it to somebody just over the weekend, and she said, "Yeah, you don't mess with the Queen of Swords." I said, "Absolutely, that's correct." Um, so it, I was really struck by the idea that if you really look at these descriptions, I would think within a deck, almost anyone could find a significator that suited them.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so
Just one more quick thing. Quite often, the significators are the court cards. So it's the page, knight, queen, and king of 4 different suits. So there's 16 cards in a tarot deck, and likely one of them is going to resonate with you as a person.
yeah, because they do represent all manners of personalities, so to
Personalities and
speak.
styles. Yep, agreed.
Um,
I just thought of
Queen of
something.
Water.
You know the Myers-Briggs personality test thing?
Yeah.
There's 16 of those too.
Huh.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder if we could map Myers-Briggs to significators.
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay,
You help yourself.
that'll
That does
be
not sound like fun for me. I don't care about Myers-Briggs.
all right.
And you all will know me that, that's it. That's Queen of Swords coming out. Do you know what traditional tarot suit water represents?
Yeah, the cups.
Cups. So Coventina is Queen of Cups.
Ah, there we go.
Okay, so now, with that said, that was months ago. And every once in a while, the Queen of Swords will come up, or it'll come up in a deck, or once in a while, you'll pull a Queen of Swords and you'll say, that makes you think, oh, what would Angie do? Or maybe I should ask
Yes.
Angie, or something of that
Yes.
nature.
That is true.
So over, when is it? I guess it's on a Saturday once a month. On a Saturday once a month, I participate in a Radley Valentine year-long program. And on a Saturday once a month, we have a spiritual development circle, so to speak, where we trade readings with other people.
Nice.
And he gives you the subject for the card pull. How many cards? 1 card, 3 cards. He gives you the subject. And so this last time, the first pairing was pull 1 card for the superpower. So for the person you're reading, pull 1 card for the person you're reading to identify a superpower that they are unaware of. And so I don't know if you've never been in a Zoom, breakout room. Maybe you don't know what this is like, but you're in this big Zoom room and they push a button and they pair people off. And then you wind up in a room just with one other person or 2 or, whatever they choose.
Yep.
And so when I got in the room, I saw the fuchsia hair and it was Coventina.
Oh, cool.
And our loyal listener.
Yep. That's cool.
And I was like, wow.
And there's like dozens of people in that class.
Oh, no. Yeah. Hundreds. Not dozens.
Wow.
Hundreds. Yeah.
Wow. That's
there's
really
a couple
cool.
hundred in there, I think. So I was like, wow. So she pulled first. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter. When she pulled for me, she said, oh, the Queen of Air. And I had to say, okay, well, what does air represent? And then she said, whatever swords is.
Swords. Yep. Right.
No, whatever swords is. What is swords? Emotions? I don't know. What is swords?
Intellect. And it's basically intellect.
Okay. So that's what she said. I said, no, that's not what I mean. What does it represent? What does air represent in traditional tarot? And then she said swords. I was like, oh my gosh, you just pulled me. And then it hit me. I was like, wait a minute. He told her to pull a card about a superpower that I was unaware of. And she pulled my significator card.
That's significant.
I was like, I couldn't believe it. I mean, and it's really funny because if we hadn't done tarot time and I hadn't made this realization, this reading would have been significant in a way, but it would have been a lot more difficult to understand. When she pulled that card and I found out that it was me, it was like, oh my gosh, all of this struggle and all, everybody that's listened and everybody that's been in any kind of a group thing that I'm with, I've made no secret about how I've been feeling pretty lousy for the last few years, and there's been a lot going on in my life, but I didn't feel good. And finally, over this past weekend, I saw a crack in the dark, like in the dark, whatever. I saw a crack with light coming through. And then
Nice.
for her to tell me, you're your own superpower.
Oh man. That's like the most whole perfect way to say you are your own hero.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So
everything you need is within you.
Right. And that's my message. Everything you need is within you. That it, when I was, because last night I was in Mooney, in the Mooneyverse, who is another amazing teacher.
Yeah. Yep.
And he said, well, has your North Star changed? And I said, no, not really. How I go about it may change, but my North Star has always been, I want to empower people to understand that everything they need is within them.
Mm,
and so
it's so good.
It's all, but John, the significance of tarot time and that one card, and if it hadn't been for that time we spent doing that,
yeah, wow,
this card would have held a much less significance for me.
It's like whatever.
I wouldn't have. Yep. I mean, it would have been still important. I don't want to diminish Coventina's reading, but she connected to my energy in a way that she was able to draw a card that told me a story that she couldn't have known.
Yep. Wow.
I mean, it's just
you can't make this stuff up. That's so good. That's so good.
So the idea of and what's interesting about this is that this is the first time a significator card was ever pulled. We've all done it. Pull a significator card for yourself. Or, I have that Kipper deck where it has a significator for a male and a significator for a female. So what I would encourage people who are listening is to actually figure out what is your significator card, really develop a connection to it and understanding of it, so that when you're in situations like I was in, you give that energy, that opportunity, that card, that opportunity to come up and give you information in a way that maybe not a lot of other things can.
Right.
Really find that you're making that connection, because that's the whole thing.
Yep.
Connecting your physical to your etheric, connecting your ego to your soul. So many people, their egos and their souls are not connected.
Right.
They're not connected, and it's not their fault. It's not, it just is what it is.
It's learning how to do that.
Right. It's learning and making those connections. So that's my story about the significator. Let's hear your story, and then we'll tell people a little bit about how they might be able to pick one for themselves.
Sure.
Or
that's a good idea. So here, my story about the significator is, I was doing a reading for someone else a while back, and it was the kind of reading, I think it was probably either 9 or 12 cards. It was long, and what I was doing, I don't always do it this way, but you turn over one card at a time and you kind of build the story as you're going, right?
Oh, that's how I always do it.
Okay, so with the shorter reading with a 3 card, I usually just turn them all over at the same time. But this one, I turned over the first one and then said, okay, how does that relate to the second one? How does that relate to the 3 together? What story are we building here? And it just wasn't making sense. And I'm trying to relate to the client. I'm thinking like, well, is there something, upheaval in your life? No, not really. So the story is moving along and it isn't making sense at all. And I'm thinking like, well, that's kind of weird. Usually once in a while I get a reading that just doesn't make sense. And we kind of say, do over. Or we try and shoehorn it, which is a really bad idea.
Yeah.
Here's what happened. So my significator is the King of Cups. The King of Cups is that guy that he's just kind of the go-to guy that everyone comes to with questions or problems, and just someone that is trustworthy, is not going to judge, and just is helpful to people who are asking questions. I think that kind of describes me,
It
right?
does really. I mean, that fits you perfectly.
Yep. Right. So that's the King of Cups. And so I'm doing this reading, and the last card I turn over is the King of Cups. I suddenly realized this reading isn't for you. This is for me. I was doing a reading for a client, and it just all of a sudden, everything made sense. This reading was for me. I said, client, this reading's for me, and I'm going to take a picture of it, and then we're going to shuffle the deck again, and then I will do a reading for you. And that reading was spot on. It connected with the client perfectly, whereas the one that I had done first with my significator in it was for me. So it was just a really weird situation, and I realized that while I was doing the reading.
Well, I mean, that's the cards found a way to tell you, hold on,
Right.
there's nothing wrong with this reading. It's just
right.
It's just first,
it was something I needed to know right now.
Right. And I mean, oh yeah, that's good. So that's the way they communicate with you, right? Like,
Correct.
I mean, me, I have them saying things over and over in my head until I listen.
Correct. That
right?
is my
you
tool.
Don't actually have that. The tool you use to connect to interpret, to connect to receive and interpret energy is the cards.
Correct. Yes.
So the cards had to find a way to tell you that reading was for you. That's kind of really amazing if you think about it.
Yep. I love that part of it, and it's the story that stuck with me ever since.
And that you persisted, right?
Right. Instead of bunching it up and starting over.
And didn't let it knock you for a loop. Sometimes readings just don't make sense.
Right. Yep.
Sometimes you haven't really established the connection with the energy of the client, right?
Agreed.
So, and real quick before we move on to the rest of the significator stuff, I want to say I went I went to a, I don't know, what do you call it? Holistic health and holistic fair. We have one locally here, whatever you call that, wellness, spirit, yeah, whatever they called it. And well, I only bought 2 crystals, so that was good. They were spheres. They were this big, right? No, they were little. They were little gumballs, but spheres with little facets on them. I'd never seen such a thing. But anyway, I digress. I, for some reason, sat down to have a reading with this lady. I don't usually sign up for readings, but for some reason, every time I walked around, they're like, they kept saying her name is Bonnie Potter. She's local, out of Schaumburg, by the way. Nice. And they just kept, like, I just was really attracted, that no, you need to sign up and sit down. So I have a ritual I take myself through when I sit down in front of somebody. Like, I create the container and I invite them into the container, because that's the only way they're going to connect to my energy and get a reading, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, now I understand that I just keep my stuff locked up pretty good. Right. So I need to give them access. Armed guards. So pretty much. And so when she said, well, if you don't mind, I'm going to just be silent for a moment and say a prayer before we start. I said, yeah, that's no problem. I need to do the same thing. And so I did. And I, did everything. And when I opened my eyes and I was done, I watched her and she went. So she actually was able to sense the energy that was in that container that I created. I was like, okay, I'm in for a good reading. And I really did. It was so cool. I could tell she was reacting to the energy, that I had created. So if I can do that, you can do that. And by you, I mean all of you who are listening, John, everybody here, you have the power to be in control of your own energy. You just do. So look forward for, I'm finally out from under this cloud. Look forward for my new monthly calendar and my new monthly events that are really geared toward empowering people to understand that you do have within you everything that you need, including being able to create a container like that for yourself when the time is appropriate.
That's really awesome. Wow.
Yeah. So now, because I did a little research on significators, I have 4 ways for somebody to choose a significator for themselves. So
Cool.
what I want to do is I would like to give you the way, and then maybe have you explain a little bit further on
Sure.
on what it would be.
All right.
So
Cool.
and I've heard this one before. The very first one they say is based on physical appearance. So, and they're talking about the court cards, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
talking about the court cards. And I imagine this has got to do with what deck you're using.
Yes, that is true. And you may resonate with one card in one particular deck, and that becomes your significator. And then if you pull up another deck, the card might not look like you anymore, but the resonance of you having realized that as your significator has already been made.
Oh, okay. That's brilliant. So once you figure it out, whatever deck you're using, a favorite deck perhaps, because that is true, because even the Queen of Air, like she said, still represents me.
Yep.
So, okay. Well, that's great. So this example it gives me says, for example, a young woman might be represented by the Queen of Wands. I have no idea what that means, but okay. Again, Angie has not really learned the framework of tarot, and I don't have all that stuff directly at my,
let's come back to that one in a minute.
Fingertips. Yeah, I'm good with that. So the next one is based on personality traits. Now, I think that's how mine got chosen.
Yep, absolutely.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a person wanted to do it based on personality traits, where could they find that information?
Okay.
Is it in most descriptions, or?
I would say it would be better to go to like a tarot book, because there you've got kind of
so not the guidebook, but an actual book about tarot.
Yeah,
okay.
By someone who's well respected in the industry. Let me give you a quick overview guide. If your operating personality type is one of emotions, and you're very emotional, intuitive is another. Well, let's leave that word out. If emotions are your dominating kind of operating system for yourself, then you're going to pick something from the cups. If you are very much about action, meaning like gotta go, gotta gotta do more, gotta be more. If you're out there doing action, and action is your go-to, that's going to be the wands, right? If you're a thinker or a kind of a planner, that's going to be the swords. And if you are, let's see, which one am I missing? Pentacles.
Wands, pentacles, right.
If you are more about concrete things and a lot more grounded, if you're in, let's say you're a very much a financial numbers person, that's going to be the pentacles. Not hard and fast rules, but certainly a direction I would go. The kings are usually this is how it is, take it or leave it. The queens are more, I got some rules, but I also know how to nurture. The jacks are more about, the knights are more about
action. It looks like
action, and also like delivering messages. So there's a message component to that. And then the pages are more about inexperience or just starting out.
Okay, so just so you know, those of you that are okay with AI, I went to ChatGPT and I said, "Hey, ChatGPT, can you give me a list of personality types that match the court cards in tarot?"
Cool.
And it gave me wands, cups, swords, and pentacles, and some traits. Now, of course, you could get them to expand on this, but perhaps I will copy this and put it in a comment.
Cool.
On the channel. And just for my edification, pentacles and coins are the same thing,
correct,
right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So, I mean, that's really cool. And if you can pick one for yourself, there's a lot of ways to use that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really the next. So okay, so that was personality traits. The next one is based on an astrological sign.
There you got to dig into an astrology book or have an astrology friend help you out with that.
Yeah. So maybe that would be cool. Maybe we could get Lisa to come on and go through that with us.
Ooh, that would be a great
That'd
episode.
be fun.
Yes.
And this, so we're gonna pass through that one real quick, but let's see. Ooh, the Crone of Blades. So Coventina says she has a matriarchal deck, and the Crone of Blades has her scissors cutting through all the delusions, tell it like it is, and riding on an eagle.
And she's saying that the Crone of Blades is the Queen of Swords. Oh my. We're cutting through delusions right here now.
Well, I think that's funny because if you ask anybody that's known me for a very long time, they know that scissors and paper and me don't get together. Thank you, Coventina. I love that.
Yeah. Crone of Blades. That's a great name. I should check that deck out. I like it.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely do that. Okay, so we're gonna go past the astrological. This one intrigues me a little bit because based on life situation or question. So it reminds me. Do you remember when we did the Oracle seance?
Yes, I do.
And we chose significator cards to represent the loved one.
The loved one passed over.
That passed over. So to me, that means, like, let's say, even though the significator card that I resonate the most with is the Queen of Swords, I might be able to pick a different one for a particular situation or
for a particular reading in a particular situation. Yes. Yes, I agree with that 100%. Like, let's say you're feeling inexperienced and giddy and kind of like, emotional. Well, there you go. There's your page of I think it's Page of Wands. But point is, yes, for a particular reading, you might pick or realize that the significator is a different card.
Okay, and then you can just choose that, and you can use it to anchor the spread. That would be what you would do, really, if you're using it specifically. Absolutely. Right? You use it to anchor the spread. Could you use? I know that people are going to have this. Well, if you pull that out of the deck, then are you going to get an accurate reading because it's missing a card?
Here's the answer to that. Spirit knows how to make a reading work. So
I love that. See, that would be my answer too, but I wanted to make sure
you know what? One of my favorite authors has that question in her book. If I lose a card, do I have to throw the deck away? She says, no. Spirit knows how to make the reading work. You can always get a replacement card, but don't throw the deck away.
I mean, that is true. I think in some cases you can get a replacement card, right?
Yep.
Okay. Tarot. It's round. Coventina sent me a picture of it, and the deck is round.
Oh, I've got a round deck too. Mine is, yeah.
So we'll have to see if we can get her to give us the actual name of it, so we can.
Right.
So we can look it up and have it. John Mothershead's deck is round, and it's beautiful. It'll be coming out later in the year. I've already pre-ordered.
Oh, cool. Is that coming?
I've pre-ordered my copy of that one.
Is that a Hay House?
No, just through johnmothershead.com.
Oh, he's self-produced. That's cool.
Yeah. I'll put that in there. Okay. So now back to there we go. Too many windows. I don't know what happened. Okay, now so there's a lot of, what do we got? We're at 3:30. Oh, we got time yet.
Yeah, we got time.
There's a lot of it, like how to use a significator card in a reading. I made some notes before we started.
Okay, cool.
To kind of have that, but I would love, before we start on that, how to do it in a reading, I'd love to remind people that if you choose a significator card and you are a vision board person, take that card, make some copies of it, and have it on paper so that when you make a vision board for yourself, you can put yourself right in the center. I mean, you could put a picture of yourself in there too, of course, but you can do, they call it manifesting with tarot, I guess.
Yep.
And so you pick your significator card, and then you would pick cards that represent situations or circumstances or actions that you're, oh, she gave us the name too. It's been out of print for many years. Bummer. Anyway, so that's probably $4 million on eBay, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you can get the book. Oh, 1984. Yeah, it doesn't. Oh, well, that's all right. I mean, that's what makes some of them special. Oh, $99 on eBay.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it's not as much as I thought. But anyway, okay, let's not get too far off track here. We get distracted, you and I. Anyway, okay, so you can use your significator card in a vision board. You can create a vision board or like a tarot manifesting board for yourself using your significator card. And I, I mean, some people use the real cards, but it is absolutely appropriate to make photocopies or to take pictures and load them into Canva and do it all on one piece of paper. So you only print out one piece of paper.
Oh yeah.
All
using
of
tools
that.
Well, I like that.
Yeah, me too. Well, and me and my beloved Canva
are buds.
Yes. So okay, so let's see. How to use a significator card in a reading. Number 1, centering the querent. The significator card is placed in the center of the reading spread or at a designated position to represent the querent, helps focus the reading on their energy and circumstances. So that would really be just what we were talking about, right?
Yep.
Just pull it out
and
then shuffle, whatever, however that works. Shuffle.
Yes.
Shuffle. Don't be silly. Shuffle. Okay. Now, let's see, is the next one. Customizing the spread. Some tarot spreads have a specific position for a significator card, which can influence the interpretation of the surrounding cards. It serves as a point of reference for the reader to relate other cards back to the querent.
Right, which is what I said at the beginning.
Okay, so is that part of the spread? Like the spread is designed with that in it? Or
correct. Yep.
Like in your example of a past, present, future, would you add a place for the significator card?
Yeah. If I wanted to do that, it would end up being a 4-card reading. The first card being the significator saying, all right, this is you. And we're going to put, instead of in a line, we're going to put past, present, and future all around you. And then now you've got the querent in the middle or the significator in the middle, maybe past up here, present down there, future,
Oh, and yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah. The look of that is different than 3 things in a row, because now you can kind of see, how do I relate to my past? How do I relate to my future? How do I relate to the present? And it helps ask better questions, and it helps get to the energy of the reading.
Okay, yeah, I mean, so I can see it laying out in front of me now, because you know how you add additional cards, or how you pull a clarification
card. Yes.
You could do that on 2 legs, but not on the third, or you could do it on all 3. You could go around one more time.
Yeah.
There's so many things you can do, but the power of this, I'm just seeing is, and not only that, but I want you to know you can take the significator card from one deck and you could use an entirely different deck. You don't have to use the same deck.
I was going to mention that. And if you want to do your reading with a full deck, you pull your significator from the other deck.
Do I do anything with a full deck? No, I'm just kidding.
That's funny.
Anyway, what I'm seeing is that the possibilities for this are endless.
Yeah.
It's just like the work I do on the wheel, right? Like at the meditations I've done or the work I do on the wheel. You could put your significator card in the center, and then you could have places in that spread for what is an unseen influence in this situation.
Perfect example. Yep.
What is something that I'm aware of but I'm not using? I mean, there's so many ways to do that. Like you could take any spread practically that you have and add a significator card. This would be very valuable to somebody who, this would be very valuable to somebody who is new to reading. You could, what do you think about, stop. Okay, slow down. What do you think about this? Could a new reader, but really a new reader, because that would be really good. Could a new reader find a significator card that represents other people? In other words, this card just kind of generally represents anybody I might do a reading for. Would that be a possible card to find?
Kind of a generic significator?
Well, I mean, kind of, or maybe.
I know in some readings, the first thing they do is they take out all the court cards and they have the querent or the client pull one card as, okay, you just pulled your significator. Let's set that aside. Okay, now we're going to take all the cards, mix them back up, and do the reading. And the significator that was pulled has some significance because in your situation right now, you are acting very much like a, and then fill in the blank, the personality type.
Right. Okay. So you're going farther than I wanted to go with that. So
sure.
Let's
back up.
Let's back up the truck first. But that was good information. That is, I mean, that
Thank
you're
you.
not wrong. I'm just saying that's
Slow
a
down.
different lane.
Slow down.
What if a reader chose a card? It doesn't have to be a card from the deck. It doesn't have to be a card from the deck that they're using to do the reading, but a card, a crystal, something that represented, oh no, they could totally do this. I don't know how they would get it from a deck. So a card, a crystal, or something to set in the center of the table when they're doing the spread to help them anchor to the energy of the client.
Yeah.
And you know how people sometimes say that, oh, I got these cards, but I have trouble like making the connection.
Right.
Or
I can't
have
relate
trouble
to it.
fitting it in. I can't relate. This would be a way for them to connect to the energy of a client in a more visible way for them.
Yeah. Yes.
So would there be a major arcana card, a major arcana, whatever, that might represent people as a whole? Like the moon, or
let me think. Let me flip through here a minute. The Fool comes to mind.
That was what came to mind for me too. Not because I think people who are asking the question are fools, but because that's the person on the journey. Right?
Exactly. I was just going to say that. You as a client are on a journey. The Fool is going to represent you, client, because that's,
because you're. I mean, really, that's perfect. And if you're using one of Radley Valentine's decks, it's the Dreamer.
Is the Dreamer? Yep.
Right. That's it. That is it.
I would definitely use that as the generic, significator card, if we can call it that.
So as a person, how much time? We're still good. Okay. So when a person sets themselves up to do a reading for another person, whatever their, prayer of intention is, they would just simply set the intention to connect, to dial the energy of the person they're reading for into that card and use that card as an anchor
Yeah.
for the cards they're dealing.
That's
Like,
interesting. I have never done that, and that sounds like a really interesting
I know it would be
thing
fun
to
to
do.
experiment with it,
Yes,
wouldn't it?
absolutely.
That I mean, that's what's happening now since this cloud came over. With whenever I do a session or something, like, oh damn, I never heard that before. Like, that's new. So I think there's something to that. If
Yeah,
anybody that's listening is a reader, I would love for you to try that and let us know how it came out. We would love to hear about it.
yeah,
You know, maybe I don't know. There's possibilities. We could have we could have some kind of a a tarot oracle
yeah.
roundtable type of
Right. A round
thing
table.
on
Yes, I
the
would
air.
love to
That'd be
do
a
that.
lot of fun. We've been talking
Bring
about that for
five
a long
readers
time
on.
anyway. Yeah, I think that would be really fun to do. So, wow. Okay. Right. That's good.
This is
Okay.
good stuff. This is
Yeah.
so fun to dive into my, my preferred modality here and explore it a little bit. This is really good.
Yeah. So the rest of them, centering the querent, customizing the spread, enhancing connection, clarifying the focus, that stuff was already there on the list. So I'm not going to go through that. I want to see variations and alternatives. Not using a significator. Some tarot readers prefer not to use a significator card, believing that the deck will naturally provide the necessary insights without needing a
Fair
specific
enough.
focal point.
Fair
And that
enough.
is fair enough. I mean, that goes to what you say. A deck, spirit is smart enough to be able to give you the message.
Right.
I don't think there is one particular right answer. Although, based on what happened to me in my experience with the significator and yours too, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yep.
Identifying one for yourself, I think, is probably a good idea.
It comes up at just the right time when it's supposed to come up. So I think that's helpful.
And the other thing would be that if you have a significator card that you identify with and you get a reading from someone, they may not be aware that it's your significator,
Right.
but that would be a way for them, as they're giving you the information to say, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. That's totally because that's me.
Yep.
So, okay. Now this one, I wonder, this might be cool. Using multiple significators in certain readings, especially those involving relationships or multiple people, more than one significator card may be used to represent different individuals.
Yep. I've
Now
seen that.
there's I have a friend who I think Lisa has studied this as well. Have you ever heard of family constellations?
Yeah.
Yeah, from
Yes,
Lisa, right?
I did. She did one for me. Those are really amazing.
There's actually a course on Udemy
Oh,
about it.
really?
Yeah,
Cool.
on it. Which of course I bought and haven't watched yet. But this is the same.
You and
with
me both,
books.
friend.
Yeah, right. Same with books. Well, not you and me both with books, but anyway.
Certainly me with books.
No. Oh, really? You buy books and don't read them?
I buy books and they go on my shelf or my Kindle, and I'm like, all right, that's a really good one. I'm going to read that. And
then it's still there. I got you. I got to tell you, I love that Kindle Paperwhite, but I don't want. I want to make sure we get to the rest of where we're going here. This reminds me, the multiple significators reminds me. I have a friend, Lisa. She calls it dynamic constellations. She uses little bottles of water to represent people and energy and situations. And what's interesting about it is she uses those little bottles of water very much in the way that I use oracle cards. For me, oracle cards are just a way for me to connect to the energy. It's not even necessarily about what the card says. So the idea of using these multiple significators, again, it could be where you put them in the center of the deck and you past, present, future, past, present. Like, there's many ways. I mean, I think we've only scratched the surface on how we can use these cards
here's
method.
What just popped in my head. What if you did a combination family constellation using the significator cards as your representatives for your relationships?
I mean, absolutely, because to be honest, I did it with Lisa as well. And I want to say she had me use crystals, which, for me is an easy thing, but the cards actually give you specific personality traits.
Yes.
Really help the person connect to.
Yeah.
And
I know right away
could,
who my closest family members would be.
Right. And she could have this list on on a table and say, okay, look over this list and see who represents, like you, okay, we want to talk about this person and that person. We're,
Yep.
which one represents which, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like it'd be a real easy way for them to connect to and understand. That's a really good idea.
That would be fun. Boy, we should have her on the show and have her.
It's all fun. Like, yeah. It's all fun, right?
Yeah.
Now,
totally.
Let's see. Dynamic significators. Some readers allow the deck to choose the significator dynamically by drawing a card at random.
Mm-hmm.
This method can provide surprising and insightful connections. Now, that was really the only way that I had ever seen it done to begin with, was, shuffle the deck all the while with the intention to come up with a significator.
Right.
And allowing the deck to come up with that significator. So that was the only thing I ever knew about it. But, I never really, when I did pull them, they were, like, okay. But it wasn't until we went through those traits and I was like, wait a minute, that's me.
Yeah.
That one is me. Like, there is no doubt you could make a tarot deck, Queen of Swords, put my picture on it, and that would be perfectly appropriate. Like, in fact, I think I might try to get one of them made for my own self.
Would be hilarious. That'd be so much fun to use your friends and family.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Wouldn't it? Like, why not? It would be great. Anyway, so we've actually done pretty well with the time.
Yeah.
We got through all of this. This was really, really good. Yep. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yep. Me too.
And I think that we have, we have a little list of things that we can give a try. And I really like the idea of putting together a round table.
Yep. Me too.
To have some other people on and just, how do you use a significator? Do you have one? Right. Maybe you come on and we can choose one, help somebody choose one, like there's another, there's a whole bunch of places we can go with this, John
and Andy's significator service.
Yeah. Right. Like, so those of you that are watching, and we appreciate you watching so much.
Yep.
If you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button and the notification button, to let you know when the live stream is coming on. But if you are interested, please reach out. You can find us on Facebook. Our names match. Or you can communicate to us, through the comments on the YouTube channel.
Yep.
Either way, but if you'd be interested in coming on to try that out, and we will, in the meanwhile, put something together where we'll put out an announcement, where people can sign up and come on and do that. That would be great fun. There's so many possibilities. Like,
right.
I'm just
our brains are just buzzing right now.
Yep. They're just showing me like all these little things, almost like games, like
little pop-ups.
Yeah, like, oh, who did this? Oh, look, who is this? Like there's so many ideas just floating around in my head. That'll be great fun. So anyway, well, thank you all very, very much for listening. John, thanks again. This was a fantastic conversation. Folks, really, please, if you have not yet subscribed, please do. And if you like us, share us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And we will see you next week, where the plan next week is to go back to the idea of talking about runes. So we'll see if something doesn't pop into our heads different. That's what it'll be.
Runes it will be.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you, Coventina. Thank you for joining us every week. We need to come up with a reward for her for being such a loyal listener. Perfect. Anyway, okay, very good. We will talk soon. See you next week. Bye, everybody.